With that being said, let's move over to a little bit harder round ball, that baseball. I've saved my big story for much later here, but we'll start with the good fun news was seeing the Judge and Ohtani shakeup. Yankees versus Dodgers faced off earlier this week, and it was a show. Lots of fireworks.
Yes, if you're actually looking for quality baseball, that was a great series to catch, and it was a rematch of the World Series from last year, and it's looking like it might be a rematch of the World Series this year.
Potentially. Yankees are on a little bit of it. Like, they are a very, very good baseball team. I mean, I don't know how either of those teams can't be good with the amount of money they spend, but we did see Ohtani and Judge fire a lot of home runs. I saw one day the score was like 18-2 or whatever in the Dodgers' favor, and Ohtani took a nap in the dugout. So that was super cool. And like I said, one of the series we saw back-to-back Judge and then Ohtani home runs. It was excellent baseball all around.
Yeah, it was indeed. I think the first game in a couple of decades where two MVPs both homered in the same game, Judge and Ohtani, which is a little wild considering. No, that can't be the only thing about. Was it reigning MVPs? Had to be that.
Probably reigning MVPs.
Yeah, because the Dodgers lineup has got like 4 MVPs on it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the quality stuff was good, and that was the Judge and Ohtani show. I get. Is that straight into the bad baseball now?
Before we get there, would you let Ohtani pitch again?
Oh, I mean, here's the fun thing. They're working. He gets to take the slowest rehab route possible and just be as safe as they can be, because he is on schedule to be ready to. He could have been ready to go at this point in the year already, but they have, because of the amount of money they're spending, they have no need to force him to. So here's the thing: is he's a really good pitcher, and pitcher is the most valuable position on the field.
I don't remember if he's like a starter or a reliever.
He is a start, because that's the most effective way if he has the stamina to do it, pitching once every 5th day and being able to be either DH or position player on the other 4 days is how you get the most value out of him. Versus,
I was going to say, I don't think I've seen him out in the field either.
He's been DHing this year, I'm pretty certain. He used to play out in the corner outfield spots every now and then.
Yeah,
but
you don't.
Reason to now.
Yeah, I was about to say, is it more valuable to have him as a pitcher, or is it more valuable to have him as a position player? I mean, pitcher is the most important for sure, and he's a very, very good pitcher, all do say it, but also having the ability to throw somebody out there is also kind of high value.
Yeah, there is value from the outfield, but again, pitcher dwarfs that just because of being in control of basically the entire flow of the game. And that's, I think, the real big deciding factor, especially as a starter with his track record. They're gonna do it again. Like, he will be in the rotation, even if it's as like a spot 6th guy. That's still gonna be valuable for extending the rest of your bullpen, and he can still bat that game. That's the wild thing. Like that's how it used to be back in my day. The pitchers had to bat for themselves, but you have an all-star batter.
He would have a huge advantage back in the old National League days, but now it's kind of all kaput because everyone gets a DH because it's better for baseball.
Well, that was always my thinking too, that it's just going to be the same, like every team gets the same boost. No, some of them still don't know what the hell they're doing with their DH. Look at us.
I don't know if we get to be put in the same category. Speaking of us, that's where our transition to, and sort of my big thought and story of this week. The Rockies, our favorite baseball team, they do win today, but after
they took that one, huh?
They did. 6-4, I think, was the final today, actually, and we got a face-off against the lowly Marlins. 10-50, our record now. 8 straight losses before this. This is the 4th time the Rockies have dropped 8 in a row this season, and we are more than historically bad at this point.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We have grabbed national attention by being worse than anyone thought possible at the game of baseball. And then I've seen some very interesting stats and comparisons for things such as, since September 22nd of last year, the Broncos have 10 wins and the Rockies have 10 wins. Since, May 22nd, Scotty Scheffler has 3 wins and the Rockies have 3 wins.
Yeah, we are, just some statistics. Right now, currently, we are on pace to lose 137 games.
Blowing out the record of, I think, 121 from last year.
Yes. And on the road, the Rockies are 3-28 as a team.
It's quite bad. And the other thing that really caught my attention, the one I saw, was that, and this is, again, remember, a franchise that started back in 1993. They are, over 25 years? Where are we at? Yeah,
22.
Yeah. Decades of history being the point.
32.
This is their
32. Excuse me.
This is their worst stretch of 100 games, worst stretch of 200 games, worst stretch of 300 games, worst stretch of 400 games, worst stretch of 500 games. That's over 2 years. It's time spent. This is by far the darkest of days.
If you're new to this podcast, welcome. Second, back a few weeks ago, I said potentially, what if we already had the best baseball that we've seen? Because the Rockies have this tendency that you play really good to the start and then you drop off right before the All-Star break, and that's kind of it. These days, occasionally you'll get like a little hot streak here and there. Maybe in September, whatever, you'll have a good week. But I was like, we had such a bad start, and everyone's like, we're waiting for the boost to go. I was like, I don't know. Maybe that is the boost, and that seems to potentially be the case right now.
Yeah, it's, I was thinking about this as well, because there have been just so many pieces about how bad we are and why our situation is so much worse than the White Sox, who are at least have like organizationally changed their general manager and have like kind of intentionally traded away old players in an attempt to like develop new prospects and gain more young value for their franchise, and are just going through the growing pains of that, because sometimes you do have to just fill in holes with whatever old veteran is available at the price tag you can pay. But the Rockies are a team that is not only not good at the pro level, but not good at really many of the minor league levels either, and with not really much draft like prospects to show for it.
Yeah, one of the articles is like, even if we brought up a AAA minor league team from one of the real professional baseball teams, they could probably have the same record-ish as the Rockies do currently.
And they would recognize a lot of our players.
Which leads into sort of my big question or thought. I mean, there's not a lot going for us. We can't have another top 10 pick. We are out on that one, so that's also bad luck. I mean, our prospects, I don't know. Potentially we'll see them very, very soon. We almost need a completely like reshake up and everything, but all this requires to spend money, right? Which our owner Monfort has been so reluctant to do. But into his case, if there is no sort of cap in baseball, what is the incentive for him spending money when teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees are going to outspend him on the better players? Why should he go out and try to get these players? And should there be a cap in baseball such that it levels the playing field for all?
See, that's funny, because I think the argument is now that there should be a floor in baseball of like
that would comes with the cap.
Yeah.
Like you can't. You have your floor and you have your ceiling. That's where your cap is. And the Rockies are for sure have to probably spend some more along with some other teams. Because
the thing is that they are spending more than they used to. It's not like the early 2000s Rockies, which were just being pinch pennies and not doling out money until they made the big mistakes with. That's kind of the history of the Rockies. They decide as soon as they're going to open their purse strings, they give out the worst contracts in baseball history.
We get robbed.
Yeah, essentially. So yeah, we are in a position now where the largest single contract like on our books, I'm pretty certain, in Chris Bryant is worthless. Has no value to any other team in the like. You can't.
It's worse than worthless. He has negative value on our team.
Yes, just actively taking up a roster spot, except for right now when he's on the injured list, which is why he spent most of his time on his contract on the injured list. I really do not see a change other than a complete top-down organizational overhaul.
Do you think a cap in baseball is possible?
No, it doesn't seem likely, what with everyone being fine with how the arms race between it's now the Mets who are the biggest spender in the league also, thanks to their new Juan Soto contract.
Potentially also might have got robbed, but is it like what does a cap look like? Like what would that even look like for the baseball?
That's the thing,
is crazy because
the disparity is so huge. The Mets and the Yankees are both spending over $300 million. The Rockies are in like the $150 million range, and I think the bottom like 4 teams or something are under $100K.
I can't even
or $100 million.
Yeah, I can't even picture. Like you have to find an even ground, and it's like this has to be
You'll be chopping off. You'll be forcing the top 3 spending teams or something to absolutely.
It would almost have to
be
a multi-year process because not only, I mean, the bottom teams to spend more money. That's easy to do.
Yeah.
If you do it poorly, it's the top teams where they have to figure out where they're going to spend their money. And to be honest, I think there is some merit to what he's saying, right? Like I understand it from a competitive standpoint a little bit. I don't like that he's kind of throws up the white flag every year saying, yeah, not worth it. I'm not going to go spend however 700 or 500 million that the other squads are doing. But also I understand like who else other than these like basically the top 2 teams have the ability to do so. You have to almost home grow a team, which then once they become successful, they're going to leave.
Yeah, you only have a 6-year window to capitalize on them.
Yeah, and then they're going to leave to go play for whoever's going to pay them the big chunk of money.
Which is, essentially the cycle that we've seen most mid-level teams have to go through. And if you get it right, though, you become like the Kansas City Royals or the who else has pulled it off? The Marlins have done it with a pretty homegrown team. That was back in the early 2000s. It's a billionaire's arms race, and get in the race, Dick. That's like, I don't know.
It feels because like the White Sox also have a little bit of the same problem, and there's a couple other. It feels for some reason, I don't know why baseball feels this way, but it feels like there's like some small, like you have your sort of billionaires and whatever, but the Rockies really feel like a millionaire sort of team. Like they're very what we have in our bank accounts not the same as some other teams for sure.
And I mean, I guess because the Dodgers are not under single ownership. That's like a conglomerate of guys of interests with different various funding sources. So maybe that's going to be it. And that does seem to kind of be the trend across multiple leagues. Is that singularly owned teams are going to be a rarity if you're not willing to fund them with deep pockets.
Yeah, there are very few teams who can be singularly owned anymore. There's only one team I think in the past few years at the top of my mind that has been bought by just one single owner. And that's the Los Angeles Clippers, who got bought by Ballmer, but he's a
big billionaire.
Correct. The Denver Broncos, I think, are basically we have like a big.
It's the Walter Penner family, but then there's like a few different interests with
bunch of other little interests and whatnot.
Condi, Lewis Hamilton.
Yep. Washington Commanders is a big conglomerate. Dodgers, when they got bought up, a big conglomerate.
If your pockets aren't deep enough, find some friends whose are.
Is it? And I don't know what the right move at some point. Like just watching some of these baseball games, we are doing the sport no favor for sure.
It's ugly.
Yeah, looking out, this year's been. The fans, I think, are really speaking out this year. The stadium is empty pretty much most of the time. Even when the Yankees or Dodgers do come in, you can find a seat pretty much same day, anytime, really, at like market price.
Yeah, there's been absolutely no sellouts, which is a great shame for Coors Field. But that is kind of what's necessary. The fans that are out at the away stadiums are donning the paper bags and wearing the sell the team merch. So, the word's getting out at least. And I think that is the only benefit to being in this darkest timeline, is that we are such a spectacle of bad decision making from a top down like organizational job that literally everyone who talks about sports is talking about it.
I think, unfortunately, also for the Rockies, it's magnified to a greater, at least here in the Colorado area, because we have champions. The Broncos are like one of the most winning franchises in all of the NFL. The Nuggets have been on a hot streak for the past, I'll say, like 8 or 10 years now. Avalanche have another
This is our second
Stanley
glory
Cup
era.
again
Yeah.
with MVPs to their name. They're really the only major sport. Even our lacrosse team, the Rapids have a championship in the past few
Literally,
years.
the Rockies are the only major team without a championship.
Yes. I mean, looking Colorado sports, we kind of have a culture of winning, and we have a desire to win. And thank God the Cronkies and Josh have kind of pushed that envelope now inside a Ball Arena. It didn't used to be that way, at least for some of the dark days. But now that they've gotten a little bit of the taste of the glory, it's different. I don't know what the MLB can do, right? I don't think they can force Montford to sell the team, right? That doesn't look very
league-wide,
good.
there's not going to be any action from the other owners because for as pitiful as they are, the financials of the team are still, within the bounds of their acceptable parameters. It's a money-making machine still.
Yeah, I agree. And
that's where the lack of attendance is going to be the only thing that also financially does anything to the team when it stops becoming worthwhile.
I'm curious because at some point the owners are going to get upset, right? Because eventually you're going to have a new TV deal or whatnot pop up, and they're going to be like, ugh. There has to be some sort of repercussion for being as bad as we are, right? I mean, some people may want to watch the ship burn and scuttle, but
yeah, I don't know. They're how much organized fan backlash there would have to be to warrant an official reaction against a singular owner, or member of the.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a fan thing at all because I think the Rockies,
I just don't see it in the big billionaires club them making a move against one of their own.
Not even if it starts to affect what they're getting put in their own pockets.
That's where I think that's up to the fans and having an organized and very vocal sort of boycott of baseball as a whole. Maybe it's we're not watching anything with this Rockies product involved.
Yeah, it just scares me a little bit because I don't know. It kind of feels like we're hostages on this terrible, terrible, terrible ship. So many pirates have invaded, and the fans are no longer captains. We have not been captains in so long.
Yeah, not to get too real about it, but I've learned in my lifetime now that things can always get worse than you expect them to be able to within reason. And that's kind of the newsworthy thing about this year is no one ever thought a baseball team could be built this bad. There was always this assumption of no, a team wins about a third of their games, they lose about a third of their games, and there's a third left of the games to fight over. This team is not winning a third of its games.
Not even close. I don't even know if it even matters at this point. We're just kind of we're the Harlem Globetrotters and whatever, the Washington Generals, I think it is the team they go against. And we're just,
yes,
we're there to be a sort of
literally that is the position we have now taken because of, and it's going to be one of those expounding factors on this road to the worst record of all time. Clubs are very well aware of what the stigma is around the Rockies, and it is a very bad look to lose to them. So you're getting everyone's A game every single night.
There are two things to this that make this even worse is you may potentially get a draw for being so bad. Like I said, people do like to see things just go horribly wrong. Just kind of the way human nature is. I think
whenever the loss 122 is going to be, when we're on pace for that, then you'll get a little spike, sure.
One, we're going to get some more increased viewership in this unfortunate blunder that we'll call a professional baseball team. And two, who is ever going to want to come to this team now? You have to be almost Jesus Christ himself to come try to be a savior, and I don't think anyone wants that task. You could get paid probably mad big, but also you have now this incredible weight on your shoulders that breaks Chris Bryant in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that, how arguably the two best players on the roster right now would be Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar, and you know for sure that they understand that they're the best players in the room and have that weight of oh, I got to do something to help us, get a W on the board. And that's led to Doyle's having kind of a rough year. Tovar had an injured beginning to the year, came off the injured list hot, and has now kind of dropped back to earth with everyone else on the team. But even that, those guys would be utility role players on any of the good teams in the league.
Maybe they could potentially. I think they might be a good.
Tovar is a starter on a lot. I think on most teams, there's about still probably at least 6 or 7 other shortstops who take a starting job from him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think out of the two players that out of all the players that we have, the two best players that we have play, I think probably the toughest positions, I guess, to find sort of that star player out there in center field for Doyle, and then at shortstop for Tovar, which are kind of your money making positions along with your pitchers and your third base.
Well, and then with position players, you have to think of the offensive side as well. That's kind of where Doyle's lost a fair bit. Like, he's still showing some pop, but it's a team-wide thing of, like, the averages are just not good. The strikeout rate is not good. And then for Tovar, he provides... He's kind of just like a Walmart version of like an elite shortstop. And that's not to his disrespect or anything. It just his numbers are not at that like elite level. They're good. They're not great.
Again, these guys are going to only be here for the next couple years. I mean, we have such a bad reputation that I don't think we can even keep our homegrown talent around anymore. If they truly have the option to be like unrestricted, if I am a competitor, I would take less money to go elsewhere for sure.
I mean, that's got to be a point of contention of like, if anyone who can actually stand a chance of being in the postseason has an interest in bringing me on board, please do. I mean, there's already the stigma for pitchers about playing half your games at altitude, and now it's just like, it doesn't matter what position you play there, because there was always sort of the rotating door at first base ever since Todd Helton left, and that still has not really ever had a permanent solution found, or like a long-term franchise guy.
We've rotated every 2 years, if not every year. There's someone,
and now basically every position has that. Now that Charlie Blackmon isn't roaming the outfield again,
I couldn't even name who our first baseman is anymore. We have McMahon.
We've been rotating.
McMahon's at third now.
McMahon's at third. Tovar's at short. I would give you $10 if you could name who played second base for the Rockies today.
I don't know. I know that there's the little short guy who doesn't fit out there because it keeps getting blooped over his head every so often.
Yeah, that was Amador, and he got sent back down, unfortunately.
Because he's in the wrong position.
I think it's Orlando Arcia is our new second baseman, and we got him, I believe, from the Cleveland franchise, who designated him for assignment because he was hitting like 180-something and couldn't stay in their lineup. And instead of going down to the minors, he decided to get cut and came over here. That's the level of roster replacement that we're getting. So
Tovar kind of took his life sentence here a little bit. He is here through 31.
Oh my God. How much did they sign him for?
So he's getting roughly 4.5 this year. He's gonna get 5.5 next year, 8.5 the next year, 11.5, 14.5, 16.5, and then 23 million
at the very end.
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say his agent should get fired, but that 23 million at the end might be a brilliant kicker because the odds of him still being with the Rockies at that point are very low.
It's crazy.
That's funny that they would
7 years, 63 million,
with almost a third of it backloaded into the last year. How strange. Well, then Tovar is going to be your face of the franchise for a lot of this stretch here, it seems like.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, Doyle, who's already 27, is going to go through arbitration these next 3 years, and he's going to be 30 and 28.
Okay, so he was a late bloomer. He's not going to hit free agency until 2030. Interesting. Okay, well, that's your Rockies forecast. The best we've got are Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar. Hopefully they make some huge strides going from very good baseball players to elite top of the league talents.
Baseball purgatory.
Essentially.
It's worse than purgatory if you really want to play actual good baseball. It's baseball like Dante's Inferno, the different circles of hell.
Maybe instead of a salary cap, we need to just look at making a relegation system for MLB. That I think would be the solution to get the Rockies out of this whole mess here.
The only unfortunate thing about that is
watch them slide all the way down to AA.
We could probably be a middling AAA team. Like, I think a lot of good, like, I think the Dodgers AAA roster would probably beat up on our major league team. Same with the Yankees. It's going to be just another one of theirs, and now we have to go out to what is like a Rochester or whatever, where their little AAA stadium is.
The AAA is pretty big.
It's big, but it's not.
It's the double and single A ones that are really out in the middle of nowhere.
It sucks to be it sucks to watch baseball here because there's no good baseball around, unfortunately, unless you root for another team. But also, it's like, why even bother at any point? Which is why a lot of people stop going to the games and watching. Even our granny's not watching every game like she expected because it's just so rough to watch.
Yeah, it's very unfulfilled. Like there's a premise to following a team that you expect a certain level of heartbreak and disappointment, but those are supposed to be rewarded with the times of jubilation and joy and success and overcoming the odds, and that this team has just not paid that off.
This is borderline abusive at this point.
Yeah, essentially. It's certainly fan abuse.
Is it more surprising? It has to be a surprise when we win now. Like, it's expected that you lose every single game.
Statistically, it is an outlier that we win, yes.
Like, that's not fun for any
It's one of the
fan.
unlikeliest of outcomes.
I think, like, in sports, it's supposed to be like a 50-50 any given day.
That is the most generally enticing, sporting event, is when it's fairly close, evenly matched. Ideally, it's because both teams are good, but sometimes it's fun when both teams are bad.
I would love to see a team that's just as bad as us.
Well, that is apparently what we're looking forward to this week with our series against Miami. Most people are saying this is our best chance to take a series until we play Chicago, I think, in August.
The White Sox?
Yeah. The Orioles are also tough, but I don't think we play them this year.
We can't beat an American League East team.
The Orioles are in the toilet of the American League East.
Yeah.
Not to the level that no one's in the toilet the way we're in the toilet, but it was surprising to everyone that the Orioles, who seem to be getting some traction and moving in the right direction, have once again fallen completely off the rails.
There's a lot of teams out there that just have historically bad runs. Like, I don't know what's wrong with them. Like, Miami is one of those teams. Like, they can't get any fans in there. They're a beautiful stadium, and their baseball team is just awful, just all the time.
That is all post-World Series, though. They did get one in the early days.
The very, very early days, but, like, it doesn't matter. They put together, like, a superstar roster a few years ago with, like, Jose Reyes and a bunch of people when Jeter was running the team, brought in all these big old names. Didn't pan out for them because they were old naturally, but...
Yeah, a little too much past prime there. Yeah, I don't know. There's a very interesting... we might be getting into a level of the amount of elite players is getting to be a little more concentrated, and there's not enough of them to go around to every team in the league. So there's just going to be some teams that can compete at that level and some who can't. Till we get more of those top level guys, there's just going to be some winners and losers. It feels like.
Completely agree. Do you think more players are on a like even level play, and then you have just like some of the people who are just complete outliers, like the Shohei Ohtani, the Judges, the Trouts back in their day, the Bryce Harpers, but have we kind of just almost like capped out on baseball? I mean, we've been doing professional baseball for centuries almost at this point. Like, have we like reached a point where it almost doesn't really matter who you have on your roster, and those who can't afford just even one of those elite level talents just far surpass everybody? You know,
it's an interesting question because we've certainly entered, I think, a hyper specialized era of baseball where it's more likely that even a not scouted talent young player can still have access to pretty high level like hitting coaching, fielding coaching, like a lot more. If you're if you want to try to be a baseball player, there are lots of options out there for you and like tools at your disposal to hone your game with.
That might be the other piece of baseball is just so big. Like you have so many people on your roster, particularly when you start coming from the high school level into the college level and then the pros, you kind of even at the pro level, like what professional baseball is from farm league, single A, double A, triple A to actual MLB. And I mean, there's levels to everything, of course, but you have so many, there's like a ton of baseball players just roaming around.
Yeah, it's there are a lot of them out there, and it is still the most lucrative money-making sport if you have the choice of what venue you want to be a professional athlete in.
I'm curious if that's going to still hold true, right? Because you are right. There's like the cream of the crop, which are getting the biggest contracts, $500 million, which is like shocking when Pat Mahomes signed that for as a quarterback, but he did it over God knows how many years, a lifetime of years. It feels like baseball is kind of doing the same, but you don't like. Not everybody's going to get a contract like that. Very, very few.
Certainly not the cream of the crop ones, but even a mid-level like baseball contract is worth more guaranteed money and comes with a lot less physicality than almost, probably 95% of NFL contracts.
Oh, for sure, because the NFL ones are not guaranteed, and you have to go out there and
yes, that's why the NFL is a terrible prospect, and then. The NBA guys are starting to eke up there, but
NBA they're still fully guaranteed contracts. The wear and tear is a little bit more since you do have to go out there and run. That is a requirement of the sports is run and
yes.
jump.
The stopping and starting is a lot more consistent for sure. I would agree, a more physical, a more consistent like grinding on parts.
Depends like. The knees and the ankles and hips and things like that for basketball, sure. Back for sure. Baseball, there would be your shoulder. Like that's
different mechanics going on.
I'd have to check it out because the basketball contracts now are they have to be very close. Like you don't see $500 million players running around quite yet, at least from just a pure contract level. But there are like the mid-level guys like Zeke Naji running around out there who's getting paid 10, 11, 12, 13 million dollars just to be a mid-level, unfortunately, schmuck running around in the NBA.
And we all know that that's dream money for NHL players.
The highest paid NHL players
is a Zeke Naji or I think Charlie Blackmon made more than Nathan McKinnon in that last year.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
Much like being a Rockies fan.
Also that. To cover the specifics of what actually happened this week in the games, we already covered eight losses in a row. We had the one win to start the Yankee series, 2 losses there. Took it out to Chicago, 3 losses there, including an extra innings, 11th inning affair where the Cubs really said, hey, we are not losing to this team, guys. Get your stuff together. And then we took the show on the road to New York City. And you know who's been having a rough time of things recently is Juan Soto. And the Rockies said, we've got just the medicine for you, Juan. Kick your feet up.
Batting practice.
Relax and have a series off to just sort of enjoy the show of the Mets smacking on the Rockies for 3 games in a row.
Not ideal. Did get one today.
We got the first of a 3-game set in Miami. We're looking at a 3-game stint with the Marlins. And then we're back home to host the Mets here. Show them what Coors Field looks like.
Are we... Because we get the Dodgers, I think, next week.
I know Giants are coming in. It might be Dodgers after that.
Not looking good. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll have our 8th game streak of losing.
Oh, most certainly. We'll see, though. Yeah, it's a 1 out of 3 on the Marlins series. We're still looking for that first series win.
Oh, that'd be so exciting, but so sad if the Marlins are that team.
It would be a pretty ignoble title to have to carry. If anything, we've been more on perfect game watch for opposing pitchers in our games.
I'm waiting for it to happen.
It's been pretty close. A couple of guys have gone like into the 7th before we get our first hit or something.
I mean, we have so many games where it's just like 2, 3, 4. And
it's like a lucky single and a home run. And that's how we get any runs on the board, but very rough. And then we don't even have to get that deep into it, but I have noticed that there is a fun statistical thing now where the Rockies pitchers who, this is all, of course, barring whether or not they get blown up in the first inning, which is the Senzatella special, but even if they make it through the first rotation of the lineup, which is innings 1, 2, and 3, I'm pretty certain, I'll have to do the research on it, we, I think, have the worst fourth inning, which is the second time through the lineup of our many things that we lead baseball in being bad at. I think that one's going to be pretty egregious.
Because they get all the they see all the things.
They're like, oh, I needed just one time to see it. We got it. We're dialed in.
Okay, time to hit some dingers.
Basically.